Auto off topic. Hey, we're back.
Were we ever gone?
We're gone. Then we're back sometimes. Then we're gone.
I
We're
think we're,
around.
I think we're pretty consistent.
We are.
We missed a week for the holiday. That's about it,
Sure.
right? We didn't miss any more than that.
I don't remember. Doesn't matter. Here we are.
Yeah. Episode question mark.
I mean, so many people don't have commutes. They're probably all backed up in podcasts. They probably won't listen to this till months after it's recorded.
That's true.
If they listen to it at all.
Nobody's going to work anyway, so it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
What are our podcasts if no commute?
Yeah, I have to walk the dog to listen to a podcast or...
Oh my God, exercise? Ugh,
Oh, yeah, you just let your dogs out in the yard now? You don't even take them for walks?
horrifying. Absolutely. They have plenty of room to run.
It's either that or if I'm doing stuff around the house, I actually listen to podcasts just to put my earphones in.
Yeah, I find myself listening while in the garage.
Yeah.
That's my biggest listen. And anytime I'm driving anywhere, obviously I'll still put one in. But yeah, it's harder to keep up now than it used to be. I used to be knew which shows came out which days and would listen to those that day. But it's a little more difficult when you don't have a set schedule of driving anywhere. So if you are listening, we appreciate the efforts. We know how hard it is to listen to podcasts.
Oh, you know what else is good is I do it now shopping when I go out to do all our every 2 week shopping.
Yeah, I do the same. I have the Bluetooth headset, put it on when I get out of the car, and walk around the store with one earbud in so I can hear all the scary people running up behind me.
No, I put both in, and then, randomly somebody will try to talk to you, and you're like, first of all, you can't see their face moving, so you don't know they're talking to you, and
right.
now you can't hear them. So,
right. And in your brain, you're like, leave me alone, pleb.
Yeah.
Can't you see I'm busy?
Yeah. Can you see I have these big things in my ears?
Well,
so
that's the reason I don't do it, because I don't know. I don't want to miss out on
I take it out when I'm checking out.
Good conversation with a crazy person.
Yeah.
Checking out? What do you do?
Yeah.
You go to the live person?
Yeah.
Oof.
I'm paying for it.
I guess. I'm
paying myself to check out.
I don't want to deal with anybody. That's why I don't.
The only place I do the self checkout is Home Depot because they don't have enough people. They have one person there.
Yeah.
Doing the checkout for the whole store.
Well, I think that in the past, I don't know, 8 or 9 months, I've only been to Home Depot and Walmart and Fry's, which is our grocery store chain out here. So I don't ever talk to anybody. It's been kind of nice. Also a little bit crazy, but that's why I talk to you on this podcast to keep myself.
Yeah, this is true.
Sane. Yeah. Anyway, now that we've successfully told everybody how crazy we are and that this is our therapy, or at least I have. What's going on in the world of Andrew and cars this week? Anything good?
Oh, I just it's the Black Friday tradition of putting on all the snow tires.
Did you pay yourself 50% less than usual?
I did.
Oh, good.
And I mean, the real savings were because my dad bought a TPMS tool, so that has already paid for itself because we've used it twice on each car. So
you don't have to pay the dealership to reset it now, right?
Nope.
And that works. That works for all of them.
So it works perfectly for the Subarus. The Outlander, we had to buy another $70 trigger tool, which was annoying because you have to use the tool to trigger the sensors. Then you have to plug it in the OBD, and then it goes through the procedure. And then it's when we first got it, it was get another tool to trigger the sensor. I was like, but I just triggered the sensors and put them into this handheld tool. This handheld tool now has the IDs. So why can't it just fake it and write it to the system? But it's whatever.
So does this whole thing plug into the OBD port?
Yes.
Okay.
And then our friend Andy broke a TPMS sensor putting on his off-road tires. So he put a new one in. He came over this afternoon and we were doing it on his 17 Tacoma. And it worked good on that too.
Yeah, excellent.
Which that has a weird procedure where you have to like go down and unlock the ECU. Like there's a thing in the menu. It's like unlock ECU. I was like, I don't know what that is. That's weird. So we like Googled it. Like, oh, okay. So we like unlocked it. Then you do the procedure. Then it programs it.
Does it basically make it so you can't make ECU changes while the vehicle's running and driving?
Maybe. Maybe it must be a Toyota thing.
Yeah, I've never heard that. I mean,
Yeah.
unlocking an ECU was a thing you heard about, back in the old, um, solid state kind of, I don't know, with the EEPROM stuff and whatnot back in the day. That was, you had to unlock an ECU, but I'd never heard it on a modern vehicle. That's interesting. I don't know much about it,
of course,
because carburetors.
My Volkswagen doesn't need it, so
right, the Volkswagen's convenient. Just to push a button inside the car, and it resets them based on wheel speed, I assume.
yeah, you just set your tire pressure, tell it you've set it, and it knows.
Does yours indicate individual tire pressures, or does it just say low tire if one's low?
I don't remember. It only came on once. It came on once when I left the dealer when I first picked it up.
Okay.
Because it got cold, like as we were driving away. So.
Because I know mine is older than yours. Mine's a 13, and it doesn't specifically tell you what tire is low or what pressures the tires are, because there are no sensors. It just goes based on wheel speed. So I know mine will come on sometimes if I'm driving in in the snow, or if I'm driving on a dirt road and a tire is spinning differently than another, going around corners and stuff. Because obviously on pavement, the car knows the steering angle input, and it knows the tire differential spinning between the inside and outside tires. But I'm wondering if on dirt it's different, because maybe the tire skips more. It doesn't have the same differential, because never a drive on a dirt road, not like aggressively, not talking like spinning tires.
They're drifting?
No, just driving like normal, like driving to a campsite on a long sweeping turn. The low tire pressure light will come on. And of course you panic because you're on a dirt road and you think, well, I must have hit something and I must have blown a tire out. But no, there's nothing actually low, just check tire. So
yeah,
I think it does. I think it does tell me which tire it is, but not the tire pressure.
I actually didn't change the wheels in that car yet, because I went to do it and I remembered that I double checked the lug nut. Well, it's got lug bolts. I double checked the factory ones because the OZs have their own that came with them, and they are 17 millimeter. And I was like, oh, I don't have a 17 millimeter lug wrench.
Really?
No, because Subarus and Mitsubishis are 19 and 21.
Okay.
So that four-way? No, because the OZ wheels have very narrow lug nut openings, as like most aftermarket wheels do.
Yep.
Because it helps prevent theft. So I had to buy special. Actually, they were pretty inexpensive. It was like a 17 millimeter wheel lug socket. So the difference is that they're hardened for impact, and then they have that plastic sheathing on them.
So not scratch the wheel.
So they don't scratch the wheel, or that can come off, and it makes it a very thin-walled socket.
Yep.
So that's why those are handy. But you can buy those separately. They're like $12, $15. But then I was on Amazon. They had the 3-pack of the gear wrench ones. It was 17, 19, 21 of new ones.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's cool, because then I can take my 19 and my 21 and I can just leave it in
the vehicle
travel tool bag.
Or that, yep.
Yeah, and then I'll have my, because those are getting kind of worn out anyways, the covers. They were kind of starting to scratch wheels a little bit. I had to like put tape over them.
Well, I know you've had them for a while. The ones with the red plastic covers.
Oh yeah,
because I remember you using them on your Civic back in the early 2000s.
I bought those off of like a Mac tool guy that came to work one time. So those themselves were probably like $30 a piece.
Yep. But they're Mac tools. They're probably warranted. You can probably get new ones for free.
Yeah, gotta find a Mac tool guy. But anyway, I mean those are good. I'll throw them in the regular go bag. Then I have a brand new set for.
Yeah, I don't have anything that has wheels or lugs like that. I have the older stuff. Obviously, uses a standard style, standard style lug nut. I don't have anything like a modern. They used to call it tuner lugs.
Yeah,
that was what I remember. I had them on my my Talon had a super thin opening in the Enki wheels that I bought for it. And you had to have a special lug nut that was actually like a giant Torx wrench versus a normal hex style. So
Yeah, I used to use the they weren't, what were they? Megard spline drive.
yep,
I used to use those. And then on Stephanie's Subaru, actually I put the Grillo ones
right.
that are like, they're like a regular lug nut, like they're fat, but they're keyed. And those just fit in the OZs with the thin wall socket they come with. So they're like, so now you have like 5 wheel locks, the equivalent of.
It's nice to have that.
Yeah. And then I didn't run any on the Volkswagen, but it also didn't go anywhere. So it's whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, plus it's been warmer. So I was like, I'll be a little lazier on swapping those over. I'll probably do it this weekend.
Yeah, I was looking at the weather out there. Actually, it's still in the 50s.
Yeah.
So
Plus, like, doing 4 in a day is like kills you, even with a electric impact, which definitely makes it go quicker.
yeah, I think the key there would be to have a 2-post lift. Would make it go a lot easier.
It's not even that so much. It's because they're in storage, right? So I got to pull all them out of where they are, all the 4 set of snows. And now at my parents' house, there it's 8 wheels and tires, and then 8 wheels and tires have to go back where those ones were. So it's like rolling them from their shed to the driveway.
Right.
And
Tons of work.
Yeah. But anyway, we did have a topic tonight. What the heck is going on with collector car prices? Because we've talked about the 30-year cycle before.
Yep.
But darn, stuff sure is on fire.
Yeah, I think this was inspired mostly by that Civic today on Bring a Trailer, right?
Yeah, that and other stuff that I've been reading. I've been on car Twitter a little more recently, but people are just like, oh, like enthusiast cars are not attainable anymore. Like that 30-year-old, we talk about the 30-year-old cycle of those type of cars, but
how a 57 Chevy peaked in the late 80s and a 67 Camaro peaked in the late 90s, that kind of cycle.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing 20 to 30-year-old used cars are now, some of them are transitioning into collector cars.
Yep. All of them are. There's no car that's not. It's if the car has existed this long, it's become collectible.
Okay.
And I say that looking at Facebook postings for a 1986 Dodge Aries station wagon for $5,000. It's not a blue chip $200,000 collector car, but we're talking $5,000 for what essentially is a K car. I mean, it's all there is to it.
Well, basically, we've said this before now, like a cheap runner is no longer like a $500, $800 car. That's very rare.
Yep.
It's like a running driving car is now minimum $1,000 to $1,500.
Oh, I think I would even say to get a car that's ready to roll without putting a dime into it, you're spending at least $2,500.
Okay, fair enough.
For anything, it doesn't matter what it is, and I don't know if that's a talk of collector car or a talk of just general inflation. The $800 car was our special from the 90s into the 2000s, but that was 20 years ago, going on 30 years ago, depending on how far back you want to go. So is that just inflation, or is that what's actually happening to car prices? I don't know.
I think it's what's happening to like used car prices.
Yeah. But is it mimicking what I'm saying? Is it mimicking new car prices? In 1995, you could go to the dealership and you could buy a basic car for $8,000 off the lot. It wouldn't be special, but you'd be talking about like what would be in 95, like a Hyundai Accent would be an $8,000 car. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to 2020, the equivalent of a Hyundai Accent would be, well, I guess a Hyundai Accent. And it's $10,000 more than that now.
Yeah.
You're probably talking 15 to 18. Probably bases out at 15. You're probably spending, 17 or so by the time you get a few options in it. So we're
Hmm.
talking more than doubling the price of the car. So the same
Right.
can be said for the used car market. That used car in 1995 that you paid $1,000 for should theoretically be a $2,000 car now if inflation's going the same way. So, and
Yeah, that's the other thing. And you're paying like $2,500 for like a car that's more than 15 years old.
yep,
Because anything that's in the 2010s is probably like 5 grand or more.
case in point, I have a 2013 Volkswagen that was considered to be one of the best used car bargains on the market, and it was like just shy of 10 grand, not counting taxes and title and registration and everything.
Yeah.
And that we're talking a 7 year old car almost when I bought it.
Oh, right. Yeah, because that was 19. You bought
Yeah.
it in 2019.
Yep. So we're not talking
Yikes.
about
Yikes.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're talking about taking a loan out on a 7 year old car. So if and I didn't take this, but they offered a 6 year loan on it, and if I'd taken a 6 year loan out on a 7 year old car, by the time all is said and done, the car's not paid off till it's 11 years old, and that's a hard pill to swallow. So that's just the way car prices are right now. They're just, and again, I don't think it has anything to do with being a collector car or not, because I don't think my 2013 Jetta wagon is a collector car. It may be the last of a breed, but it's not a collector car yet. I don't think it's old enough. Maybe someday it would be. Who knows? I mean, if you told me in 2000, when you had your Honda Civic Si, that it would be a $40,000-$50,000 car in 2020, I'd have told you to go jump off a bridge. So
Yeah, right. And
who
then
knows?
I'm looking at, so that 12,000 mile one, yeah, it's super, super minty, but, looking at mine when it had like 116,000 miles on it, wasn't that much worse
Mm-hmm.
as far as like cleanliness under the hood. And like, yeah, I had it painted at some point because it was damaged, but it would probably be a $20,000 car right now.
Probably a little bit less, but more than you would think it would be. More than you would think
More than what I paid for it.
yeah, more than what you would think a 20-year-old Honda would go for. And we know it's
Yeah.
a special car. It's an SI. And if you still had that car, you sold it in what, 2006?
Yeah,
And it had 116,000 miles on it. It was only 7 years old.
something like that. Yeah.
So if you still had that car, you'd probably have 200,000 miles on it. It would be every bit as clean.
I might not have driven it that much. I might have found something
Who
else.
knows? Maybe not, but who knows? It would probably still be as clean because you take really good care of your stuff. But so say it had 170,000 miles on it, you'd probably be looking at a car that somebody would still pay 12 grand for today because it was nice.
Yeah.
And that just, is it inflation? Is it collector car? What is it? What makes that push? What makes the push between the car that you paid $12,000 for in 2003 still worth that same amount, if not more, with more miles on it today?
Yeah.
What brings us to this point we're at now? And I don't like it. I mean, I like it, don't get me wrong, because I already own cars.
Yeah.
But I also don't like it because I'm seeing cars that I passed on years ago trading for prices that I'm just not comfortable paying because I don't want it that bad. I'm not going to pay $15,000 for a '99 Civic.
Oh, no. It's not. In 1999, I think the car was like 18 grand
Okay.
and like maybe 20 at the tops new. Was it a $20,000 car driving experience? Yes, in
100%.
1999,
Yep.
but not now.
No.
Like, I mean, okay, I shouldn't say that. It still is a very good driving car, but yeah, I don't have the pang of nostalgia hard enough to spend that much money for that car.
When you can almost
Probably
buy
because
a new car for that.
but maybe it's because I own one and have already experienced it. And I don't need to.
Or maybe it's because we're cheap.
I don't think it's because we're cheap.
We are
I
cheap,
spend money when I spend money when I need to.
but we
I
are
don't mind.
all
I don't mind buying quality things.
both of us are cheap when it comes to buying the initial purchase price of the car, and there's no denying that.
Yeah.
You know, we have not. We neither one of us has ever gone out and seeked out the best existing example of the car currently on the market. Every car we own, and regardless of whether we want to do it again or not, but every car we own, we bought with the intention of wrenching on it for a bit.
I mean, to be fair, I haven't had the money yet to do that. But if I had the money, I would buy a really nice example of a car.
Except you've also never taken out a loan for a collector car or a
I've
fun
never
car.
done that either.
And that's where we're at nowadays in 2020. You know, in 1995, when I was looking at starting to buy cars and really starting to spend money on that kind of stuff, 95, 96. You know, I was 15, 16 years old. I was thinking about getting my license. I was in the market for cars all the time. And $3,000 was like a tremendous amount of cash to teenage me in the mid 90s. $3,000 was, oh my God, I don't know if I can ever save up $3,000. I make $3.25 an hour. How am I ever going to buy a car? I had my Cutlass, but I didn't have a car that I was like, I didn't have that enthusiast car. I didn't have the car that I could just do whatever I wanted to whenever I wanted to. So I was always looking. And I had my heart set on buying a Mark I or a Mark II Volkswagen GTI. And at that time in the mid 90s, to think that a 1985, now a 10-year-old car, a 1985 GTI was $3,000. 10-year-old car. And that was for like a 50 to 60,000 mile mint condition, you know, Recaro trophy interior BBS RS wheels, like top of the line 16 valve was $3,000. And to think that I could have bought that car then for $3,000, and in my brain it was like, well, I'll never be able to afford that because it's $3,000 and I make $3.25 an hour. You know, I work 40 hours a week and I make, you know, $300 and some odd dollars. So it was really hard to sit back and think about buying those kinds of cars in that time. But to think back to a car now that's, say it's 2020, so a car of that age would be a 2010, you're not going to buy a 2010 car for $3,000. You're not going to buy a 2010 car for much under $6,000 or $7,000. And again, does that hit that same bit of inflation that I was talking about earlier? It's the same difference. It's double the money. Is that where we're at right now? It's just everything is double what it cost in our, I guess, formative automotive years. Mm-hmm. You know, we're in the same boat. So I don't know. I don't think it's all bad. I think it's good that cars are worth more money than they used to be. I think that regardless of inflation and regardless of it being the same essential percentage that it was back then, when somebody pays more for something, they take better care of it. And I think that it means that these cars that are trading for higher dollar values will be around longer as collectible vehicles. And yeah, I'm okay with that.
One of the general theories is that during this year, people haven't had many things to spend money on. Like couldn't go to restaurants, couldn't go on vacations.
Yep.
So a lot of that budget has gone to, they could spend it on collector cars if they're so inclined. And maybe that's where some of the craziness that we've been seeing on the internet auction sites have come from.
So I don't know that they have more money because they're not going anywhere. I think it's maybe they're not going anywhere, so they have less to do. I think that's probably a lot of it. Because anybody who's going to spend blue chip collector car money isn't affected by not taking a trip to Hawaii this year. Like that's not where we're at. You know, if you're talking that the market for $20,000 to $30,000 cars has gone through the roof, then that's more of that crowd. I think somebody who's spending, you know, 50 to uncountable amounts of money on cars, it doesn't matter as much. They're spending that money because they have enough money anyway, and it's probably more out of boredom than extra funds. You know, people are sitting home; they don't have much to do. Car people are working on cars; they're turning car projects out faster than probably they normally would.
Yeah.
I know I'm getting a lot more done this year, just not having a commute. Like just walk outside and start working on a car. There's
Yeah.
no
Right.
wasted time after work. It's the commute is the home office to the garage and start working. So I don't know if it's really that there's more money out there or if it's there's more time and more interest in things because people just aren't as busy. So maybe I could be dead wrong. It could be a money thing. I know I haven't spent as much money going out places this year and going on vacations this year because, in 2019, how many road trips did I take? How many cross country drives in vintage cars did I take to go to Radwood shows? How many, you know, rallies did I attend? Races did I attend? And all that stuff costs money, and I haven't done any of it this year.
Mm-hmm.
So there certainly has been more money in the discretionary income, an income pool, which maybe not for me this year because we bought a house, but in general there has been, and maybe that's my collector car this year. I bought a house, so who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe that makes me wrong as I talk it out in my own head. I don't know, but I don't know that necessarily more money is out and about because on the same note, there's less money out and about.
Yeah. But so I think people being all doom and gloom about cars being too expensive, it seems kind of crazy, like these cars becoming unattainable. But I think part of this is visibility. You're only seeing these super nice ones
Yep.
on sites like Bring a Trailer.
Yep.
And they're selling for a crazy price, but like cars still exist out there.
100%.
And it just takes like patience, and you got to search for a deal. And I don't think you'll ever find a quote deal on an auction site because if the car is listed on Bring a Trailer, people already know that it's pretty special, and it's been cleaned up. It has good pictures, it has a good description, and there's a ton of eyeballs on it. So it's not like that's not the way you'd find a deal these days.
Nope.
And you got to look for like, I'm going to say like this, the way I buy cars, right? And the way you like to buy cars and a lot of our friends like to buy cars is like, you're looking for the potato photos, a poor description, and you don't want someone that knows what they've got.
And the other important thing, and the people always ask me when they look at my, I almost hesitate to call it a collection, but it's a collection of cars. And it's not what everybody would want, but I have some decent cars, and people look at me and they ask the question all the time: how do you find these cars? What drives you to seek out these cars, particular cars, and buy them? And my answer is always the same. It's you're never looking for a car. You always have that in the back of your head, that discretionary income put away somewhere that you could spend on a car. And when a car comes up, if you're in the position to spend that money, you buy it. And I can't tell you how many cars I've turned down over the years because I don't have the money or space. I mean, I always have the desire, but I don't have the money or space to buy it or keep it. And that's just where it is. It's just put yourself out there, let people know what you're into, and then when cars come up, be ready to bounce on them. That's all there is to it. There's no secret sauce. There's no special trick. And that's whether you're going from somebody like me or you who buys the $1,500 car, or somebody like a car dealer who buys the $250,000 car. If you have yourself put out there and people know what you're into, when cars come for sale, you'll get that contact from somebody like, hey, Brad, there's a 1990 Eagle Talon for sale in Tucson. You should come down and look at it. Love to. Don't have the space or money, but thanks for thinking of me. And then the next time one comes around, somebody could say, hey, Brad, there's this 1990 Eagle Talon for sale in Tucson, and it's a TSI turbo with, just 100,000 miles, and it's mint, and the old lady wants $2,800 for it, and that one you can jump on. That's just where it is. I've always bought cars that were a little bit, scruffier on the edges, and put a little time and effort into them and made them better than they were when I bought them. So,
right.
And it's being in the right place at the right time. Going back to your thing about visibility and car auctions, the other thing I see on a Bring a Trailer site, or to a lesser extent Cars and Bids or eBay or any of these places, is people buy the cars they're told to buy. And that kind of goes the same with anything. Like, people go on there and people start talking about, oh, this is the nicest Honda Civic Si in existence. It's 12,000 miles, not a nicer one. Would be really cool to add this to somebody's collection here. And that now all of a sudden this collector is going to go, oh, okay, this Civic Si is something special. I'm going to look into this car. I'm going to make this car, part of my collection of whatever, because I'm supposed to. It's what I'm supposed to buy. If you want something interesting that doesn't cost you the arm and a leg off of Bring a Trailer, then don't buy the Civic Si. Keep eyes peeled on your local Craigslist for the Civic Coupe or the Civic Hatch or the Volkswagen Golf GTI from the same year. You're going to spend an eighth or less of the money this Si is going for. And you're going to have something that is a fun car to drive. It might not be to have the same panache as this particular Si, but you've spent $2,800 on it. And you have something neat. In 1999, you could have bought a Civic Si. You could have bought a Prelude SH. You could have bought a Volkswagen GTI. What else was there? The Celica GT had the 2ZZ high revving 4-cylinder then. That was kind of a neat car. There are so many. GST. You could have bought an Eclipse GSX. Yeah. There are so many better cars that are maybe not better, but so many equivalent-ish cars that you can buy if your intent is to buy a collector car. You don't need to buy the car that everybody says go buy. Not everybody in 1995 was like, I need the 69 SS big block Chevelle. Somebody out there had to buy the 69 base model 305 car and put their own personal touch on it. And the guy that bought that big block Chevelle in the 90s and spent $125,000 doesn't have any different of a driving experience than the guy who bought the $5,000 305 coupe and built his own motor for it, or even paid somebody to build a motor for it, and has a equally fun to drive car minus the matching numbers matching originality, made 16 of this particular color and trans combination. Like, if you're into cars for the fun of being into cars, you almost don't care that these blue chip cars are what they are, because that's not the car you want anyway. You want a car you can get in, you can enjoy, you can have fun with, and you want the car that you want, not the car that you're told you want. It's the same way that people line up to buy the newest Louis Vuitton purse. Maybe I'm out of touch on that. I don't know. Or the latest Supreme T-shirt. Like, you're told that that's what you want, so that's what you want. When at the end of the day, a free T-shirt from, name it charity, does the same thing at the end of the day for you. It gives you a shirt to cover you to go out places. So it's not that you need to buy that car off Bring a Trailer. It's that you need to buy the car that makes you happy. And if you have the money and that 12,000 mile SI is what makes you happy, and you want to buy it and put it in your collection and never drive it and never enjoy it, great. Be that guy. Everybody will walk into your garage and go, you have the coolest collection of cars you can't drive. Mm-hmm. And I don't want that. And I don't know anybody else that does. A good friend of ours just bought a pretty low mile Honda Prelude.
Yeah.
Is that a 4th gen, I think? Like a 99, 98 body style? Got swept back headlights. And he got, he paid market value for the car. He didn't score a smoking deal off of some old lady on Craigslist. And his plan with the car is to drive it. Like, just pretend that he bought it in 2002 and it had that many miles on it, and it's still cheaper than a new car. And he's going to go out and they're going to drive it every day and make it the daily driver. Mm-hmm. They're just reliving that experience that they could have had in buying that car used in 2002, but they're doing it in 2020 instead. And that's kind of a neat way to look at this kind of stuff, and that same car that another one sold on Bring a Trailer with maybe a couple less miles for double what they're into theirs for. But at that point, why? I don't think anybody listening to this podcast cares about a low mile car in a garage doesn't get driven.
We haven't even gotten into Japanese market stuff that's coming over here. That's gone crazy too.
JDM stuff, like actual imported stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I have some other theories on that too, and we can certainly get into that if you want to take the time.
Sure, why not?
Japanese imported stuff. Let's go back to stuff that we're familiar with. You and I both near and dear to our heart. We both own a Galant PR4.
Right.
We think they're woefully undervalued, right?
Yes.
Super clean examples of cars with miles trade for 6, 7, maybe $8,000 tops.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's been a couple of super low mile examples that have sold for 10, 15, maybe.
Right.
Have they gone that high yet?
Yeah, I think the one to bring a trailer was like 15.
Okay. So we start talking about Japanese imports. You and I have both wanted an early Evolution 1, 2, or 3 for a long time.
Yep.
It's kind of always been on my radar. Always wanted to buy one. Never quite pulled the trigger. Now they're $20,000.
Right.
Is $20,000 a lot of money?
Not for that car.
Right.
I don't think so. I think it's worth it.
100%. And that's where I'm trying to go with this.
Still worth it.
That's where I'm trying to go with this. Yeah, there was a time where you could buy them for 13, 14.
That was definitely steal, but I think you're still.
But I think at $20,000, that market hasn't gone crazy.
No.
Again, this is the same example of you buy the cars you're told to buy. You want to buy an R32 GTR? That's the car everybody says, hey, you need to buy the R32 GTR. You're spending $50,000 plus now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just it's the market dictating what the consumer wants to buy. It's the same when you advertise it brand new as it is when it's 30 years old being imported from Japan. It's the car that everybody talks about and everybody wants is going to be the one that's going to cost more money.
Yeah.
If you want to buy something that's still fun, and then maybe an Evo is not quite the same performance as an R32 GTR, but I bet dollar for dollar or dollar for fun factor, whatever that, you know, dollar for, I don't know how to say it, but you know what I'm trying to say. The amount of money you spend versus the amount of fun you have with it. I think that $20,000 Evo is going to be way more rewarding than spending $50,000 plus on a GTR.
Well, when you watch like an old Best Motoring video, that Evo runs with a GTR. So it's not, I mean, not everybody is going to do these massive super builds on them anyways. So
nope.
Super builds. I said super because straight 6 turbo. I don't know why it just popped in my head.
I think it's super like Superman.
No, but yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sorry, I said super.
That's what I heard. And no, and a Toyota Supra is another one of those things. Everybody was told to buy the Supra. So people that drove the prices up on Supras are not your typical
RX-7s.
But they're not your typical they're not your typical 1995 Japanese car buyer. They're the guy who already has the Hemi Cuda parked next to the COPO Camaro parked next to the Lingenfelter Corvette.
Oh,
and everybody says, well, now you need a Supra. So, okay, I'm going to buy a Supra.
It's because he saw Fast and the Furious.
That's also, unfortunately, part of it. But it didn't do the same thing to Eclipses. And arguably, that was a more important car in the movie.
Worse than his two Eclipses.
Yeah. But that's...
yeah, and then it's kind of like, third gen RX-7s. And then second gens, people are sleeping on still.
Yeah, first and third gens are the way to go right now if you want to make money. Yeah. Second gens are a little falling behind. I think they'll get there. But they're kind of in an unloved era of cars, unfortunately. And you say what you will about the Radwood effect, people keep saying. And, you know, bringing the Radwood era of cars into the limelight has made them super expensive. And you can still buy a $4,000 944. You can still buy a $2,500 second gen RX-7. You know, you can still buy all these things, and it's not until you start looking at the halo cars of each generation that the prices have really gone crazy. You know,
Radwood effect is not. It's not showing the light on the cars. It's showing light that there's people that are into it. The enthusiasm was always there for the cars, and the prices were going to go up probably anyways.
Again, inflation.
Yep. It's just now noticeable. It's visibility.
So let's bring this full circle back to auction sites and Radwood era stuff in auction sites. We're talking about a 1999 Honda Civic Si. That's what at last check was like $37,000 and still had a couple days left, right?
Yeah, it was 39 like an hour before we did the podcast.
Okay, so $39,000. Move yourself over to Cars and Bids.
Yeah.
A website that I kind of loathe but also love.
I mean, granted,
listen, I'm not going to lie.
Title makes more sense than Bring a Trailer, if I'm saying.
Well, Bring a Trailer used to make sense because it was Project Cars.
Yeah.
Cars and Bits is a terrible name. There's no getting around that. It's just like
I'm into it now. I've come around.
I'm not. It's a terrible name. But if you look at the results on that website, I think you get a better idea of where the market is at.
It's real.
Yeah.
Like what cars are actually trading at.
There are a couple of outliers on there, but I went back into the most recent history to see like what kind of cars were out there on that website, just to compare. And I found there's a 1994 Honda Civic hatchback on there. Now, granted, you and I both know it's not an SI. You know, It doesn't have the B18 or was it B16? What was in that car? B16. It doesn't have a B16. It's a little single cam. It is a 5-speed manual. It's a 94, so it's the EG generation of Civic, which is like a 2,000-pound car. You can have a ton of fun with that car. This car has 50,000 miles on it, 50. It's in that like requisite like 90s teal green.
Yep.
Like, it's a pretty cool car with 50,000 miles on it, and it's sold for just over $6,000.
Yeah.
Now, to me, to buy a 1994 Honda Civic hatchback that's super clean, $6,000 is a reasonable amount of money.
Yeah.
I don't think that's out of the realm of anybody who is in the space of looking for a fun second car.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a fun second car, $6,000 is in your range.
But see that Civic, even though you spent $6,000 on it, if you did whatever VTEC swap, B18 swap, whatever, twin cam swap, you want to put K series in that car, you would actually make it worth more.
Yep.
And you could even keep it the stock color.
Yep.
And throw a lip on it and lower it.
Yep.
And a rear spoiler. And the thing is super cool.
You could be into that car for 10 or 11 grand done, and the car is probably worth 10 or 11 grand. And that's kind of a better way to spend your money at that point. It's a better way to get yourself into this. I hate to say this, but the car scene, the car thing, your fun weekend car.
Lose value.
I know on the same week, and that car actually was in Woburn, Massachusetts. Yeah. So you don't even need to ship it across country if you're on the East Coast. The car already exists there and it's rust free. So it's not. There are cars out there, and I don't know why people are complaining. There's another one here: '89 Ford Mustang LX 5-liter.
Yep.
Now think back to the mid to late '90s.
Did '89 get the sealed headlights?
Oh yeah, that happened in '87.
Okay, right. That's right.
So '89 Mustang LX, it's gray, 5-liter, 5-speed manual. That's the car you want, right? Hatchback, not a notchback. That's like essentially the most desirable of that car for us in high school, right? In high school, that was what, a $6,000-$7,000 car?
Probably
$5,000-$6,000 car. No, anyway, that car sold this week with a really clean car in Texas for $8,700.
Yeah, that's a reasonable price for a Fox Quad.
Again, you're not going to get a better deal than that, and it's not a ridiculous price. We're not talking about a $50,000 Mustang 5-liter. We're talking about a run-of-the-mill 5-liter that you want to get into a collector car or a fun weekend car. Anything under 10 grand is the budget of anybody who has the money to get into this can spend 10 grand on a car. Whether they spend 10 grand outright or they get a loan from one of these collector car loan companies or a personal loan, under 10 grand, I like to think of is like the number. So people might sit back and say, the Radwood effect, that car should be $1,500. No, it shouldn't. It doesn't need paint. It doesn't need an interior. It doesn't need an engine. It doesn't need all of the most expensive things. It's ready to get in.
It wasn't $1,500 in 1998.
It's the car you want to get in, and you can go to your local Cars and Coffee. You can go to your local, Wednesday night cruise nights. You can go take the family for an ice cream. You can go to the Mustang meet. You can go to the Backwoods rally. You can do anything you want in that car for less than 10 grand.
And flows on it.
Yeah, right. But what I'm saying is you can do anything you want in that car. You can be accepted in any automotive circle. except, the high end circle, obviously, what we're not even talking about. But any automotive event you want to go to, you can be accepted in that car. You want to autocross it? Great. Want to do a track day? Great. You want to go to the doo-wop car show down the street? Great. All those places you can do with that. So how can you complain that for less than $9,000 you can drive that car and do those things?
Yeah.
I think it's unfounded to say that the market is completely gone. I think that it's shocking sometimes to look at something and say that sold for how many dollars and how much? But at the same time, it's not 1995 anymore.
No.
It's 2020. The 1995 house that you paid $100,000 for is $350,000 now.
More than that.
If you're in Massachusetts, they're a little different than me, but yeah. I mean, there's tons of stuff. I'm going through this cars that sold on Cars and Bids, and the 1990. You want something that's off the beaten path and not a normal car, and only a few exist. The 1990 Autech Zagato Stelvio sold for $25,000.
Whoa!
Is that less than $10,000? Obviously, no. But that's also not the kind of car you're going to buy if you were cross shopping that Mustang. That's almost like a blue. You bring that car to any event, and everybody goes, "Whoa, this exists. You're crazy. You own this, and you own this for $25,000? Come on."
Yeah, that's a really cool car because you get awesome 90s Italian styling.
Awesome is it's subjective.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome. I wouldn't say it's good. I'll say it's awesome.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah. Anyway,
reminds me of 90s Alphas.
But I'm just kind of going through these things. There's an '87 Honda Civic CRX. It's got over 100,000 miles on it. Hold on a second before you get too far. '87 CRX, rust-free Alabama car, red over gray, manual transmission. What would you pay for that? Say it at 120,000 miles on it.
$4,500.
This car sold for $3,500.
Okay. That's
so
a good deal.
That's what I'm saying. That the cars are out there, and this is even on an auction site. This isn't even like your Craigslist finds. The guy who sold this probably paid $1,500 for it on Craigslist.
Yeah.
And it still even made a profit at 35. So the cars are out there. 94 Stealth RT. That's 83,000 miles. It's a 3,000 GT in drag, right?
Yeah.
$6,200.
Well, that's the weird thing about Stealth RTs and 3000 GT VR4s. The nicest ones of VR4s are double the price of the nicest Stealth RTs.
And it's the same car.
It's the same car.
Well, the VR4 is a better looking car. There's no question than a later Stealth. The early Stealths, I could kind of go either way. The later Stealths, like 94 and up, the 3000 GT is better looking. However, the right suspension and a set of wheels would set this car apart. And at $6,200, you get the money to do it.
Yeah.
And you get an 80,000 mile car. I mean, I don't know. I think that we're crying too much about the cars being gone, and the bargains exist. You're not looking anymore at the $800 car. We're looking for the sub $10,000 car, and honestly, if you're in the point of your life where you're looking to buy a car that's just for fun to use in the weekends, $10,000 isn't a lot of money. You don't have to come up with $10,000 up front anymore. There are so many people that will finance you for collector cars now because of the market shift, because of the fact that old cars aren't losing money. I mean, banks lose money on new cars.
Yeah.
You lose money on new cars. It doesn't make any sense buying new cars half the time. You and I both have an automotive loan that we pay monthly and we lose money on every day.
Yeah.
And we willingly put ourselves in this position. Why wouldn't I take out a $10,000 loan to buy an '89 Mustang 5-liter in clean condition?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lose any money on it. I could pay the loan off for 5 years and sell the car for $10,000, and it's like I just parked that money that I got for almost free from the bank.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you do it? So I'm probably the wrong person to say because I drive the $800 cars, but my mind has changed a lot on that. I have this I have a couple of project cars. I don't think I'll ever buy another car as deep of a project as what I have now. I
No.
think in the future I'll probably, unless it's the right, some ridiculous
Yeah.
deal comes out there, is what it is. But I think my next car purchase will probably be purchased on a banknote.
Yeah.
And I don't have a
And
problem with
then
that.
this is where you throw away that book value, because like
Doesn't matter.
banks will kind of look at that, but it's not. It doesn't count in enthusiast cars anymore.
No.
It's just not accurate. Maybe they're making it accurate, but I haven't seen it. So, and that's why you see like the 1, 2, 3, 4 price thing on Facebook.
Well, it's Facebook trying to control a market they have no right controlling.
Yeah, but it runs off of book price.
Yep.
And for cars, and then even if they, maybe they don't even have a listing for the car, which I've seen happen before. So
Yep. The only people that go off list price or book price for a car are your insurance company, if you don't have a specialty policy, the RMV when you tell them what you paid for their sales tax, and Facebook Marketplace. That's about it.
Yeah. So that's a good tip. If you do buy an expensive car, make sure you look up the book price first.
Yeah.
Before you go to the registry.
The DMV. Yeah. Well, in Massachusetts anyway.
Yeah.
It's different in other places.
Yeah. Because if you tell them more, they will take more.
Oh, absolutely. But anyway, I'm encouraged looking at cars that are available. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I think that the days of being a car hoarder with 30 cars in your backyard that you paid, $100 a piece for are over. But I mean, is anybody really upset with that?
Craigslist app works pretty good too, I found.
What's that? The Craigslist app?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't downloaded that yet. I'll have to still.
Yeah, works pretty well. I've been casually searching for that 142 Volvo.
I'm looking at some interesting cars that are sold here on Bring a Trailer. There's some decent stuff. I'm interested in cars and bids.
Yeah.
There's some
right.
stuff.
We'll wrap this one up. So, quick thing before we go, check out the Gearhead Project. Trying to bring back forums for 2021.
Absolutely.
I'm convinced Facebook car groups are generally only good for buying and selling parts.
Facebook is only good for communicating with car people.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yep.
But when you want to save information, it's terrible for it. So the signal to noise ratio is just crap.
Yep.
As always, you can follow us on Facebook, Auto Off Topic Podcast, Auto Off Topic on Twitter, Auto Off Topic on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram, Raced in Anger. And Brad, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram pretty much exclusively at TSISS350. And I keep promising that I will go to the Twitter thing and learn that, 2003 technology, but I haven't done it yet. So
that's interesting.
I'll get there.
So anyway, keep cars analog and aim for the roses.